you start an author chat laughing.
Sorry.
Hi everybody. So happy to be joined by Kerry Buchanan, who's just one of mine and Sam's favourite people. I think she's awesome. Start us off an introduction to you and your books.
Okay, well, I'm Kerry. I've been writing since 2014. Started off writing fantasy and science fiction and short stories mostly. And in 2017, I turned to a life of crime, and I've never really looked back. In 2020, I was offered a contract with Joffrey Books for my first novel, for a 3-book contract. And hello, whoever said hello there. Somebody's message came up. And I've written those 3 books. The third one came out a couple of weeks ago, well, last week, in fact. And the 4th one is with the publishers now. And the 5th one is about 12,000 words in. So it should be out later this year, hopefully. So that's me.
It was Leslie Lloyd who said hello both.
Hi, Leslie.
I was just putting my phone on so I could see. Sorry.
Oh, that's good.
So what made you write sci-fi and fantasy?
Well, I had a story I had started writing, a sort of time slip historical portal fantasy that I started writing when I was at 6th form at school, which is a very long time ago, really long time ago. And it was just the beginnings of a novel, and I never did anything with it, and I lost it. And then my dad was diagnosed in 2014 with dementia, and I'm a real dad's girl. I'm an only child, and Dad and I have just been the best of friends forever. And that I found really hard to deal with. And reading was always my escape, and it still is always my escape. But I found reading wasn't enough anymore, so I had to escape into my own fantasy world, and that's why I just picked up the story I'd started at age 18. What would that be, 30 years later, and started writing the rest of the novel. And I stole my husband's iPad and sat at the kitchen table. And 6 weeks later, I had a 130,000 word fantasy novel written, and it was really bad. It was so bad, it's untrue. But that was the bug I was bitten by. And I've always enjoyed reading crime, but I didn't think I was clever enough to write crime, so I was too scared to start it. So I think you have to be super clever to write crime. Turns out you don't, because I'm doing it now, but...
I'm going to disagree with that. What made you make that jump then into crime?
Brian McGilloway made me make that jump. I was at an amazing summer school in Armagh, and there was a a workshop, and all the workshops were mostly poetry. But then there was this Brian McGilloway crime workshop, and I thought, oh, that sounds fun. So I signed up for that, and he gave me the confidence to start writing, and I started that novel during that workshop, and I think I got about 20,000 words into it by the end of the what it was 5-day workshop or something. And I just kept writing when I came away, and with enthusiasm, after Brian had sort of given us a few tips about how you can pull a story together. And then I sat on it for 3 years and didn't do anything with it until I sent it to Joffrey Books in 2020. Once I'd finished it in 2017, I still didn't think it was very good, so I didn't do anything with it at all.
And here's a lesson that you should send it out to things, because it is very good.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. But I mean, it's obviously had work from editors and things since then. So, but I just found I enjoyed writing crime, so that's what I've stuck with ever since.
And it's very dark at points, your writing, isn't it? Like, where did the darkness, all those dark ideas come from? Well, what's the inspiration? Because you're so nice and smiley.
I know. You see, that's the thing. I'm a really happy person. I'm a really optimistic, happy person. But maybe there has to be an opposite in there somewhere, and maybe I'm just dredging it up from deep inside. I honestly can't answer that question, Kaz, because I just don't know where that darkness comes from. But it doesn't really come out in my everyday life, I don't think. It just comes out through my writing. So I don't know.
Because I feel like I started reading it after I talked to you or seen you with Sam or something like that, and really surprised me when I read it. I don't know, I was expecting something.
I think we can possibly blame a wonderful woman called Kathleen Quinn, I think, actually, for this, because she used to run a writer's course in Queen's University in Belfast, and I used to go along to it. That's the only ever writing course I've really done, apart from the workshops occasionally with people like Brian McGilloway. And the first thing she taught us as a group was avoid the village of the happy people. if everything goes well for your characters, people will just lose interest and wander off. She said, make them suffer. So I took her very literally, and I made my characters suffer a lot.
You really did take her very literally. Leslie, I think this is, has said that she hasn't read any of your books, but she loves dark and gritty. So sell her a bit on book one.
What's that about? What did you say again?
Sell her a bit on book one. Tell her about.
Okay, book one. Book one is from the point of view of the victim. It's a young woman called Nick Gordon, and she's a university student, and she's quite shy and quite introverted, and doesn't really, maybe she's got social anxiety, perhaps you'd say, but she is persuaded by her friends to go to a nightclub, and she's abducted from the nightclub, and she is tortured and almost dies, and the friend that she was with apparently does die. And the story is all from her point of view, and it's how she doesn't want to be seen as a victim. She really wants to be proactive, and she's furious about what's happened to her friend, and she's frightened, but her fright makes her want to find out more about who the killer is and what has happened. So she inserts herself very unbelievably into the investigation, the police investigation. You need a little bit of open mind to take this, because she's a fairly insistent person despite being quite shy, and she does insert herself into the investigation and finds herself taking part in it, and does manage to track down her sister, who is later abducted as well. So that's book one. But the killer does get a comeuppance at the end. You'll be glad to hear. I don't know if I've sold it or not. I've probably sold it back again. But my dad used to say, sell it and buy it back again. I think I might have done that.
Leslie has said she takes it back. She's read Small Bones, which she really enjoyed.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Leslie. I prefer Small Bones. That's the book that I relate to most, I think. That's the book I like most of the ones I've written. That wrote itself. I think some sort of other author just took over my brain for that one and wrote it. It was very easy.
Do they all follow a series? Do the same kind of police people reappear?
They do. The two main detectives are Asher Harvey and Aaron Birch, both quite young. Asher Harvey is a young female, half Indian origin female detective in the PSNI, which is quite hard because the PSNI has a reputation for sexism and racism and being quite with a foot in the past. And I think that's really fair, because they are trying very, very hard not to be like that. But I do play up to that side quite a lot, so she gets quite a lot of flack. And Aaron Birch is her young detective constable that's working with her. She's a sergeant during this. And he's quite brash and young. And the two of them just work very well together. The two characters somehow seem to gel together, so I've kept them going through all the books. They drift apart and come back together again, but they usually end up working as a team at some point. So
they are a really good team.
They seem to have gelled in my head. They've gelled. They're very alive to me. They are real people to me.
There's a lovely grumpy police guy who comes across and helps in like book one. That I really hope comes back at some. I've not read anyone yet, but I've been
Inspector Ram, the
yeah.
Indian man. Yes, actually, I hadn't thought about bringing him back, but I could, because he is lovely, isn't he?
He is. I had quite a soft spot for him by the end. I'd like to see him again.
Oh, that's good. Maybe we could bring him back. Yes. Somebody said that in my review I noted how well they worked together. That's good.
That was Leslie as well.
That's Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for the review. Amazing. People who take the time and effort to do a review are just like, they're wonderful. Thank you so much. I don't care if it was a 1-star. Thank you for taking the time to do the review. It was brilliant.
No, she's enjoyed it. She would have given you a 1-star review.
But everything's worthwhile. Even the 1-stars have meaning. They help people decide whether they want to read a book or not. And they tell people, this is the style and this is why I didn't like it. And then somebody won't bother reading it because it's not their style. And that's fine. Every star review has its place. I'm grateful for any reviews.
And I think you're right. I mean, I was having this conversation last night in my author chat that there was a book I used as an example that I read in the holidays, and it really wasn't my thing. It was all action and cars and guns and not.
I think I saw your review of that, yes.
Yeah, I'm like a cozy crime kind of girl. Do you know what I mean? Like nice, gentle old ladies investigating things. Do you know, like that kind of thing.
So am I in my reading.
Yeah, so it just wasn't, but I could see all the things that made it good. And
Yes.
there were bits that I really enjoyed. So I kind of put all of that in my review because I was like, someone is going to read this and be like, this is my book,
Yes, yes, and that's so useful to a reader, I feel.
you know, even if
Just
it wasn't for me.
exactly. Yeah.
So I
No,
get what you're saying.
it's funny what you're saying about enjoying reading cozy crime because I also love reading cozy crime. I love my Agatha Christie's, my Miss Marples, and all this sort of thing. And yet here I am writing quite gritty stuff.
I just discovered this amazing series called Miss Seton. And it's
Ooh,
about this little old lady who lives in a village and she gets drawn into all these kind of crimes and they call her the battling brolly because in the first one she
Miss.
hits this like murderer with her umbrella.
Oh, brilliant! I've just written that down. I'm going to track that one down. Do you remember who the author is?
Heston Carvick. They're very old styley as well. Do you know what I mean? They feel like you could be reading her. I love them.
Right up my street. I'm going to find that. Thank you. See, you learned so many things on these chats.
What I was going to say though with the reviews is that Leslie is very honest in her reviews
Yes,
and generally does know how to pick a really good book.
That's really good. Good reviewers are like gold dust. So
Telling you she's enjoyed it, that's a good sign.
Thank you, Leslie. Can't say thank you enough. Thank you.
How's your research then for them? So you've got you obviously know a bit about the police and.
Well, my dad was a policeman, but not in Northern Ireland.
Do you have like like an expert that you go and talk to? Or?
I do, but the expert only appeared around book 3, and she's one of my readers, and she's just absolutely amazing, Noreen. She knows who she is, and she's a current member of the PSNI, and so is her husband. And they have been, well, Noreen particularly has just been absolutely amazing because I can just message her at any point and say, something like, would you have something like a union rep in the PSNI, or would it be called something different? And she'll come straight back to me and tell me what they're called. And then she beta reads for me now as well. She's just started beta reading for me with book 4, which hasn't got out yet. And she completely tore to shreds one whole section where she said that just wouldn't happen. So I had to rewrite an entire batch, which was brilliant. It was great to have that. I'd far rather have that done before the book goes out than afterwards. Somebody else had just said they gave 4.5 stars. Thank you. That's brilliant.
That was Leslie. She gave Small Bones 4.5 stars, which is very good from her. Is very good from Leslie.
Delighted. Thank you so much, Leslie. And Laura Hamilton, if you could go for a meal with any of your characters, who would it be and why? Actually, it's a character who appears in book 3 in Deadly Shores, which has just come out this last week. And it would be Harriet. She is a very senior police officer and she's a family friend of Ash's mother. And she's probably my scariest character in that she's very sort of upper class but I just think she has a mind like a razor, and I would love to go out for a meal with her. I think she'd be a really scary person to eat with, but I think you'd come away from it going, whew, but you'd enjoy it. I think she'd really keep you on your toes. That's the answer to that question.
That's good. I would pick the Grumpy Police Sergeant book one.
Would you? Aiken or that's interesting. No, I like grumpy people.
Yeah, you can't. I think he'd be great. He just needs someone to be nice to him, doesn't he?
Possibly, yes. I think even nice to people, sometimes they don't quite know how to deal with it.
Maybe not. So
good question, though.
It is. Laura's good for a good question.
Thanks, Laura.
The other thing I discovered about you when we filmed our promo, or didn't film our promo together, but we just had a really lovely chat.
We did, yes.
It was really nice.
I really enjoyed it too.
You're quite a sailor.
Yes. In fact, that's why I look like I've been dragged to a hedge backwards at this moment. So I spent my whole day on the boat. So we weren't sailing; we were just doing jobs on the boat today. But yes, I love sailing, and it is. Book 3 is more sailing oriented. I allowed myself a little bit of freedom with that one and brought some boats into it. And,
I was going to ask you if you'd be tempted to sort of have a book on a
Yeah, well, you can see from the cover of this one that it's very much a sea theme. So yes, boats and sailing, and in fact, Bangor Marina that features in it is where we keep our boats. So I had to let them read it before it went to the publisher to check they were okay with how they were portrayed in that. Because although I made fictional people, everybody in there is fictional. There's nobody real in it. I just didn't want to accidentally steal a name of somebody who worked there or something. So I got them to read it and check they were happy enough before it went to the publisher. So it's a great thing to do. Sailing gets you out of trouble, and it's something I can still write, because if I can't write while I'm sailing, but when you stop, I can just get the iPad out and start typing again. So it's a good good thing to do.
Do you keep like kind of notes and things around then? So if an inspiration strikes you while you're away from your iPad?
Yes, always have these. This is a new novel, the one I just started working on, so there's very little in here yet. But yes, I always keep notes, timelines. I'm more retrospective. I don't really write down ideas before they happen. I do sometimes, but I have such a bad memory, Kaz. I have an appalling memory. And I was speaking to another writer who shall not be named just recently, and she said she can't remember half of what she's written in all her books. It's embarrassing when somebody asks her a detail about the plot because she can't remember. And I'm exactly the same. So I have to write retrospectively what I've written, and I keep little chapter notes to remind myself what I've actually said so far, so I don't go and contradict myself later on. And still my editor finds contradictions, always. Especially in the timelines. I'm so bad at timelines.
So do you have like a proper plot out before you go, or do you just it's all after?
It's all reactive. It's I usually have a seed of an idea. It'll be a twist or something, or a character issue, or a clash between characters, and I'll have something in my head, or I'll have a horrible situation I can put somebody in, and then I'll build the story around that small scene. It's not always the same type of thing. It's different with every book. So book 4 that's coming out, I'm a retired veterinary surgeon. That was my career for a lot of years. And I thought, what if I was an old retired vet and I was put in this really difficult position and everybody thought I was a murderer, and that's what I've done for book 4. That's what it is. It's an old retired vet, not female, but male. And he's suspected of having murdered his best friend, which I'm not giving anything away because that's the very opening of the book, so it's not giving any story away there. So that's then the whole book just builds on that, and the characters then just react to what's happened at the beginning, and the book just works its way forward. Sometimes when you go plan, you go down a dead end. There's especially book 3, the one that's out now. That was a difficult birth. When I was writing book 3, there was a lot of personal stuff going off in my life. A very close family member was diagnosed with cancer, and my father's dementia worsened, and he ended up having to go to a nursing home, and then he broke his hip and pelvis. And I really struggled with that book because there was so much else going on in my life. And that's where being a plotter is good, because you have a framework to work from. But if you're a pantster like me and you're just flying by the seat of your pants, you really have to be able to get yourself completely involved in the novel to be able to move forwards. And with that one, I went down a lot of false avenues. And I think by the time the novel actually went to press, I'd probably taken out, I think it got up to 100,000 words at one point. And that was after I'd taken out about 8 chapters. And then it was cut back and cut back and cut back before I'd even sent it to the publisher. And then the publisher cut back even more. So I probably lost at least half to 3/4 of the book by going down false avenues and not plotting properly. But I can't plot. I've tried and it just doesn't work. I lose all spontaneity if I start to plan.
I think you've got to write the way that works for you.
Yes.
I
think you do. And I'm not saying plotting is wrong, because it absolutely isn't. Plenty of friends who know everything that's going to happen in their book before they start writing, and that works for them. It just doesn't work for me. So there's no right or wrong. You just do what, like you say, what works for you.
There isn't. And if you're putting out amazing books like you are, then clearly what you're doing is right, isn't it?
I hope so. I can't change. I'm too old to change.
I would imagine a retired vet, it'd be really good to sort of frame for a murder, because there's that science knowledge. You feel like they'd probably be quite good at getting away with a crime.
Yes, so this was fairly unsurprisingly for me. It's quite dark at the beginning. It's quite a horrible murder. So I'm not giving too much away on that one, but it's pretty bloodthirsty at the beginning.
I'm unsurprised. I'm I'm more aware now. So I'm going back to your books. I'm going to be fine because I know that they're going to.
At least you know what you're getting into now.
I know what I'm getting into. I think this is possibly Leslie has asked what your favourite animals to work with were.
Oh, so difficult. See, I love all of them. Horses were more my thing. Loved working with horses. I've always ridden on it, and we've always had horses. See, I love all of the animals. Rabbits, I'm not so fond of, not because I don't love rabbits. I absolutely adore them, but I'm really allergic to rabbits. In fact, I'm allergic to cats and horses as well. And I could tell when there was a rabbit in the waiting room, if I was in the consulting room with all the doors closed, I could tell there was a rabbit, and I'd beep through to the nurse and say, "We've got a rabbit in the waiting room." She'd go, "How do you know?" And I go, "Shoo!" Because I knew there was a rabbit there. So rabbits, not so much, but I love the exotics too. I loved snakes and tarantulas and things, but I wasn't an expert on those. I usually had to refer them to somebody who was, but I loved getting them in. I loved getting them in just to look at and handle and things. So it's difficult. It's an impossible question to answer. I just love animals. Everything. Whether it's got feet, wings, feathers, scales, don't care. Love them.
Didn't you say you have 5 cats and you're allergic to them?
And 2 horses. And a dog and 6 chickens and a rooster. And my daughter has a lizard and a snake, and we can probably hear the tank in the background, the tropical fish tank in the background as well.
Marvellous.
Love it.
We had animals come to visit our school once, and I made my year 11 class go to meet the animals, and they were like, "We don't want to go," and I was like, "I want to go and pet the animals. We are going to the we're going. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go pet a baby goat. We're gonna go."
Yes. Yeah. Goats. Oh, baby goats are so cute. Big knobbly knees on them.
You know, I was like, "What are you doing? I'm not doing here."
No, petting zoos and places are great places to go. And baby chicks and things. We had some chicks last year from our chickens, and they were just amazing little critters. I had a photo somewhere of one of my daughters with them all across her shoulders, baby chicks. Some sort of weird pirate with baby chicks instead of a parrot.
Do you hatch out like baby chicks?
That's the only time we've done it.
Yeah,
and we hatched 6 eggs, and we got 5 cockerels out of 6.
Wow.
So, and unfortunately, they had to go for the chop, which was really sad because I couldn't find homes. I tried really hard, but Facebook and places don't let you put livestock on anymore, so I couldn't even ask if anybody would like one for a home. So I think I rehomed 1, and the rest of them, unfortunately, ended up for the chop, which broke my heart completely. So we said we're never doing that again. And couldn't face it again. So that's the sad reality, because we already have a rooster, and you can't mix them together. I couldn't put any more in with him, and we just don't have the room to keep them. So yeah, broke my heart.
I feel like we've gone quite far away from talking about time novels.
But we're still bloodthirsty though.
Donna said hello. Tell us about, so you are back with us on Sunday, and you are doing our author chat special because we think you're fabulous. Who are you interviewing?
You really don't know me. Joy Ellis is a joy. She brings joy to everybody. She's just the most amazing author, and she's a lovely person, and I am so looking forward to chatting with her on Sunday. She's the reason I'm published by Joffy Books, not because she pulled strings, far from it, but because I loved her books so much that I read them all, and then I went and read the back to find out who she was published by, and that was the only publisher I sent my manuscript to, based basically on Joy. And then I messaged her and said, "Am I doing the right thing? Is this a good thing to do? Is Joffy Books a good publisher?" And she came back and said, "Absolutely brilliant publisher. You couldn't do better." And she's been so supportive and so kind. And so I'm really looking forward to chatting to her on Sunday. She's a great person.
I'm technical hosting that, and I'm quite looking forward to listening.
I'm not allowed to make her laugh, but I think she's got a bit of bruised ribs at the moment, so I'm not allowed to make her laugh.
I'm just going to manage an hour with you. I've giggled quite a lot. We were laughing before we went live.
Yeah, sorry about this. Hey Donna, see you there. Hello.
Yeah, I was going to say Donna says hello. Tell me, so I'm asking every author this, I've asked it every night since Wednesday. What's been your favourite reads of the year so far? I'm just looking for tips, basically.
Well, funnily enough, I've not been reading as much crime just recently. I have been reading, and I'm so bad with names, I'm actually going to have to look this author up to remind myself who the heck it is because I've been reading all her books. This can be Mary Kingswood, and it's Regency romance, but not the sort of button popping, jumping into bed with each other Regency romance. It's more drawing room than bedroom, shall we say. And I've got into her books in such a big way. I've been reading her novels back to back for the last few weeks and absolutely loving them. So not crime at the moment. Although I'm also reading, because I never have one book on the go, I always have several. I'm also reading Jean M. Dam's Holy Terror in the Hebrides at the moment, which is a very promising start. I'm enjoying that. It's Dorothy Martin, and I've read some of her stories before and they're very good. So I've just started that as well today.
Yeah, I always have multiple books on the go. I think it's a proper kind of reader thing, isn't it?
Yes, and I have an audiobook on the go as well at the moment, which is Secret of Crickley Hall or something. It's a James Herbert one. This is also not crime.
Like the rest of your darkness comes from there. I can't audiobook. I'm too fidgety. No, can't. I can't pay attention.
I do when I'm driving, or when I'm cooking. If I'm in the kitchen and I'm baking or something like that, I'll have an audiobook. Or if I'm in the shower, I'll have an audiobook on because I just like to have the background noise. But I can't write with background noise. I can't listen to music when I'm writing. I have to have not silence, but just not music or chat. Yeah.
Oh, someone said that they can feel a visit to No Alibis. Required to pick up a copy of.
That sounds like a local person. Yeah. That's good. I'll have to make sure they have some copies in because I think they'd run out last time I heard. I'll have to give Davey a ring and see if he needs any more copies then. Donna says, how long do I shower for?
Yeah, I think it's because you've got like audio books going.
Sometimes longer than I intend to if it's a really good chapter. Until I go all wrinkly like a prune.
I'm a fan of a long bath and a book.
Oh yes, and a glass of wine, one of those big goblet glasses.
Paul Harvey. It was Paul Harvey who said he felt a visit to No Alibis. Is that a local bookshop to you?
It is. It's Belfast. Yep. No Alibis is a great bookshop in Belfast, and they do. I wouldn't say they exactly specialise in crime, but they've definitely got a trend towards crime. That was their origins was crime fiction.
It feels like they need to be a crime fiction-y.
Yes, they're also published now. No Alibis actually now have a publishing company as well, and Dave Torrance, who owns No Alibis, is a fantastic guy for supporting the writing community in Northern Ireland. He's absolutely great. He gives an awful lot to the writing community, and I think we all love him basically. And No Alibis is a great shop. Yeah. There's lots of good books. We're very lucky with indie bookshops around here because our biggest bookshop would have been Eason's, which went bust in Northern Ireland during COVID and hasn't reopened. So we only have, we don't get W.H. Smith's here. So we only have Waterstones and then the indies, really, and the supermarkets for books. And then there's a dreaded Amazon, of course, which everybody hates, but I still buy all my books from Amazon anyway.
I think it's one of those things, though, isn't it? Like Amazon, you can see sort of why some people don't like it, but I think also in terms of authors and things, there is actually some good.
There's pros and cons both ways. I love my indie bookshops and I do support them, and I have a really strong bond with our local bookshops, and I do buy books from them. But I'm also I love a book in my hand, but I have arthritic hands and I can only hold a book for so long in my hand. So I've started reading ebooks on the phone, and now I've found that it's so much easier to read an ebook than to read a physical book. But I've really almost completely turned over to ebooks now. But I still have, you wouldn't believe how many books I have. Every room in this house has bookshelves. For some reason, there aren't any behind me in view of this camera, but it's about the only wall in the house that isn't covered in bookshelves. And I still have thousands and thousands of proper books, and I have friends, and I couldn't part with them if I tried. I have tried, and I can't. My husband keeps saying, just think of all the room we'd have if you didn't have all these books. And I have tried really hard to give them away. I've even boxed them up on occasion. but I've not got any further than that. They're still here. I can't part with them.
See, my husband says that I can't go for more than 10 minutes without a book on my person without like some kind of physical disaster happening, or like violence ensuing. And throughout lockdown, I was like, "Aren't you glad I've got so many books?"
Exactly.
Imagine what would happen if I hadn't hoarded all of these books, because I can't go and get any now.
No, exactly. You're stuck with what you've got. You couldn't even get them delivered from Amazon because it was like a 3-month wait or something to get anything delivered at that point in time. It was just nothing.
So now he's lost all arguments. I'm just like, well, in lockdown, I needed.
It's justified. Exactly.
Laura said she missed her Christmas trip into Eason's when visiting home. Thought it weird that when Waterstones moved into the shopping centre, they didn't move it into the Easton.
In Derry. That's interesting. I didn't, because I wouldn't. I'm a long way from Derry. I'm Ballynahinch. I'm the opposite end of the country. So I didn't realise that had happened, but I mean, I knew all the Easons had gone, which is really sad because I love Easons. But I think it's still available down over the border in the south of Ireland, but not up here anymore for some reason. Yeah, it's such a shame. Yeah, there's something about bookshops, but Waterstones are lovely. The Waterstones that's nearest to me is in Lisburn, and they have lovely, comfy, squishy sofas and stuff, and you can just curl up with a book and read, and I love that. You feel like it's designed for people who love books, you know.
And there's something special, I think, about visiting a bookstore, isn't there?
It's the smell. When you open, the first thing I do when I open a book is smell it. Is that really weird? Or does everybody else do that as well?
I think everybody.
Stick my nose in the book and smell it.
I think you're in a group of people that aren't going to judge you for that.
And I never turn corners on pages ever, or leave them with a broken back. I always use bookmarks. There's always a bookmark around somewhere. Even if it's a piece of toilet paper, there's always a bookmark.
I was just going to say my bookmarks won't be a bookmark. They're always something terrible. But
I have thousands of bookmarks, but can I find them when I need them?
I have like big wodges of them because I've got the UK CBC ones that I keep sending out to people. But
I've got hundreds of these. I keep giving them away to people.
So apart from the fact that you are now on our list to be stalked and on live with UK CBC all the time,
I love it.
Have you got any real life author events planned?
No, I'm unfortunately in the really vulnerable category because of the medication I take for the arthritis. I'm super immunosuppressed, and I have to be really careful about, still even now, about COVID. So I have given up live events. I have one planned, which is an outdoor one. It's the first one that I've been invited to that's outdoor, and one that's a hybrid event, both later on. There's a Belfast Book Festival in June I've been invited to take part in, but it's a mixed panel. They're doing a hybrid event, so I will be online on screen and some people will be live. And I'm not sure how it'll work. It'll be really interesting to see how that works. And the second one that I'm going to, which I don't have a date for yet, but I think it's June as well, is going to be in a courtyard garden. So it's an outdoor event, and that's the only live one I have been to since COVID. I used to do a lot of live events. I love reading. I don't even care if it's not my work. I'll read anybody's work. I love going to events where people listen and read. You know, I love to listen to other people reading. I love reading myself. So yes, I miss the live events a lot. I really do. You get to meet so many people at them. They're just great.
Yeah, it's nice to meet people, and it's nice to sort of meet the authors that have written a book that you like, so that you can find and means more once you've met them and it's signed, doesn't it? Than even if you buy a signed copy.
I agree. It's much nicer to meet people face to face. I really do miss the live events, and I'm hoping I will get back to them. At the moment, I'm still a bit cautious. I'm getting there. Also, I go and visit my daddy all the time. He's 94 with dementia and a lot of issues, so I'm terrified of bringing COVID into him as well. So that's another reason I'm a bit careful.
Paul Harvey's saying hopefully there'll be another Noirland festival before.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, it'd be brilliant, because the last one was cancelled, of course, because of COVID. So I'm really hoping there'll be another one. Yeah, that'll be good. The Noirland, it's noir in Ireland. It's great. It's such a good festival. It's all crime. That's, I think, Dave Torrance from No Alibis usually has a lot to do with that as well. I think he might have been one of the founders of it. if not the founder.
Sounds good.
Oh, Laura says the Belfast Festival is when I'm visiting home. Good. Yes, I'll see. I'll maybe try and find you on Facebook later, Laura, and send you any links that I have to that once I know what's going on. I just know I don't even have a date for that yet. I just know I'm part of one of the panels, but I'm not sure if I have a date or a time yet.
Oh, there you go.
But I'll let you know, what's available, not just me, obviously, everything that's going on if I can.
Also, Laura, if you are going to Belfast Festival, I am happy to send you a badge and some bookmarks to distribute.
Good idea.
If you send me your address.
That's a good plan. There we go, Laura. We'll have to try and meet up if you're over here visiting. You can come and see me.
I'm on a mission to bring our members together because now we can mix in the real world. I just want everybody to meet each other and have a nice time.
Oh, it'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? Yes, I was looking longingly. I think it was Donna, wasn't it? Donna Morford who said about the Harrogate Festival. I'm pretty sure it was Donna put on Facebook. And I remember thinking, I would love to go to that, but I'm just not ready yet. Just not quite there yet for this year. Maybe next year. Actually,
I was
maybe not.
Go last year, but I got pinged from work.
Really?
Yeah, and so hopefully this year I'll go.
Yes. Oh, I hope you do. I hope you get. Yeah, it sounds like it's a great event.
Yeah, we had plans. We had plans to sort of do some little snippets from it and things, but yeah, couldn't.
So frustrating not to be able to get.
Couldn't leave the house.
Oh no.
So we've heard a bit about Book 4 with the veterinary surgeon being framed. Let's ask you some of the group favourite questions now. So, have you ever acted out a scene? It? I feel like you're going to say yes.
How can you tell? Yes. Yes. I think I got asked this question once before, actually, and there's a scene quite near the beginning of Knife Edge where Nick has escaped and her hands are bound and she's naked and she's running through fields in the dark and she runs into the back of a horse, and those fields are actually our fields. So I did do a sort of mock walk through that to see if what I was writing was actually possible and what barriers she was going to find on the way. And I found there was a gate that I just couldn't open with my hands behind my back. I just couldn't do it. And that was a bit of a blow because I had it all written out in my head. I knew how it was going to go. So yes, I have acted out, but I wasn't naked. I didn't have my hands tied. I just pretended to.
That's a good answer. How did you fix the problem with the gate?
I think I had her sort of half climbing it and flopping over it in the end. I can't remember because the editor changed something or suggested a change somewhere, and I can't remember if I actually changed that bit or not. Look it up. I told you I don't remember what I've written afterwards, didn't I? I warned you about that, but I can't actually remember what I wrote for that. So, we've got him plunging a knife beyond the gate, different gate, that one.
I'll give you an update about.
Oh, she did actually manage to open it. Yeah, she did actually manage to open it. She turned her back on it with her hands behind her back, and she opened it from like that. So there we go. The editor must have helped me with that one.
Well, Laura says she's going to have to investigate to see if she can do Belfast Festival because she wants to go to the Titanic Museum too. I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's a really good visit, actually, the Titanic Museum. It's well worth it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Donna has asked what was the one thing you were looking forward to when you started writing, and has it happened yet?
Yes, it has happened, and the thing I want most about my writing is for people to read something I've written and enjoy it. I am not worried whether they buy the book or give them the book or pirate the book, but for somebody to have read what I have written and get pleasure of some sort out of it, to put the book down and go, I enjoyed that, or a short story or whatever. That was all I've ever asked for my writing, and to know that people are reading my work and getting pleasure out of it in some way, even if it's like, thank God I've finished. You know, I'm absolutely over the moon that is happening, and it seems to be happening a lot, which is really good. And because I love reading, and I get so much out of reading a book, and to think that people can read something I've written and get pleasure out of it, it's amazing. It's intense. Yeah, that was my ambition, and I've met that. Being published was just the icing on the cake. It really was.
You've definitely met that.
Mm. Thank you.
Your books are really good.
Thank you very much. I still don't think they're any good because I never. But authors are always like that. It's this imposter syndrome thing. We never think we're any good. And thank you, Donna. Thanks.
I think it's, yeah, I can see that. I was talking to Bill Dean last night, and he was the same. He was like, I don't, you know.
And he's really good.
Yeah, but so are you.
Thank you. I'm saying thank you, but you can tell from the tone of the voice it's thank you, but I don't believe you, can't you? You can tell.
Well, I don't. I gave your book like a good star rating, and I don't. I'm a bit like Leslie. It's not a thing that happens very often.
Thank you again for doing
I
that.
very much enjoyed it, and it's only because I had a pile this big of author chat books that book 2 hasn't been read yet, because it is sat on my Kindle waiting.
Oh, thank you.
So,
well, I hope you enjoy book 2. Book 2 is definitely my favourite of the ones I've written so far. Although I think book 4 that's coming out is also another. It's going to be another favourite of mine too, because that's another one I wrote itself. I enjoyed that one too.
Book 4 sounds really good. Does sound really good. Lost my thread of what I was going to ask you, because we were talking about what you've read.
I'm an awfully distracting person.
You're brilliant. So you've got that. You got when you were published. How did you celebrate this publication day?
Well, this publication day, this time, I was in Turkey on holiday. We'd hummed and hawed about going anywhere, and we decided FP3 Mask we were going to go because there was a holiday that was booked for before COVID and had been cancelled because of COVID, and it was one of those where we had to sort of take it. And so we'd finally decided we were going to do this. And I was sitting on a sunbed when book 3 was released. And we just literally booked the holiday and confirmed the booking. And then Emma, my editor, messaged me and said, we've got a date for your publication. It's the 19th of April. And I thought we leave on the 18th of April for Turkey. So that's where I was. And I was very happy. I was luckily on hotel Wi-Fi, so I could respond to people's messages when it was going live. Yeah, that's how I celebrated going on holiday. And I haven't got COVID, as far as I know, yet.
Oh, see? That's good. How what would be like your dream publication day then? Probably sitting on a beach in Turkey.
No, I felt really guilty about that actually, because I felt I should be at home. I think I've never had a live launch. I would love a live launch. I would love to actually have people around and one of the local bookshops, and to do a proper live launch would be amazing. That would be my dream. And to have people actually coming and be able to read bits of the book to them and things and talk about it to people. That would be amazing. I'd love that. I don't know when I'll get it, but maybe in the next book, maybe October, I'll be feeling a bit better.
You've been asked if book 4 is on NetGalley yet, but book 4's not finished yet, is it?
I already sent it to the publisher. It's finished. I sent it to the publishers yesterday. So it's got to go through all the editing processes and proofreading now before it'll be live. I'm guessing October, November time, but it's how long is a piece of string. Joffrey have just taken off as a publisher. They've signed up so many amazing authors just in the last year or two that I think the slots for editing and things have become tighter. So I just don't know yet when it'll be. But, hopefully this year. I'm hoping to release 2 books a year if I can, because I'm happy writing 2 books a year, so long as we can get the editing process done. No, it's not on NetGalley yet, I'm afraid. Sorry, just patience, Leslie. Thanks, Donna.
Do you have a sort of a plan for how long the series will last?
No, I don't. I think if I feel that I'm having to force my characters into doing things, then I'll probably start a new series at that point. Because at the moment, it's all very natural. People doing what they feel like doing. My characters are alive to me, and they're just behaving like normal people and doing stupid things, making mistakes. And when I feel that that's becoming forced, I'm having to really struggle to think of things for them to do, then I think it's time to move on and do a new series. And I mean, Joy Ellis is a prime example. She's 3 series running, and she manages to keep them all going somehow. She showed me the other day she's written something like 27 books. 27 books. I'm a long way behind her.
Would you be tempted to ever write like a spin-off novella about any of the characters?
Yes, I would. Maybe one of the minor characters or something like that. I would definitely, and maybe some short stories as well around the characters too.
My favourite grumpy policeman from book 1. You could
Okay,
do one for him.
I'll see what I can do. Maybe do you a short story or something. Okay, we'll do that.
I think it's an interesting thing. There's I'm chatting to Ben Aranovich in May, and I love his Rivers of
Fangirl.
series.
Oh, total fangirl.
I'm going to be exactly the same. I don't know how I will manage.
Love his books.
But I love his books, and I love that he does the like spin-off.
Yes, he does. Yes.
I really want him to do a Molly spin-off though.
Oh yes. Oh, that would be actually really good. Yes. I know. He's such a talented author. Really is. Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm going to listen to. Definitely.
I'm so excited about it. I'm going to be ridiculously like.
Oh yeah. I think I just freeze up and not know what to say.
I think you just you have to have a bank of questions ready.
Yes.
And then if you panic, you can sort of go
to autopilot and just ask the questions off the piece of paper, and your brain doesn't have to engage.
Right.
While you're sitting there fanning yourself.
Looking like streams.
You're gorgeous, you look lovely.
I'm going to be so stressed. Have you got a plan for book 5?
Yes, book 5 is well underway. Book 5 begins with Asha on the phone to one of her childhood friends, and he gets shot while she's talking to him on the phone.
Ooh.
So that's the beginning, and it's a real giveaway, that one, but it's right at the beginning of the book, so again, I'm not really giving too much away. Besides, I don't know what happens after that because I haven't written it yet. I only know the first 11,000 words. And I've forgotten most of those.
So when you're writing something about people being shot, do you have to go to I'm presuming your science knowledge is good if you're a veterinary surgeon. Would you have to sort of go do kind of research about things like
I do. In fact, if anybody ever looks at my search history, I'll definitely be arrested. Yes, I look at ballistics, and I look at different types of bullets and the effect they have on the flesh and the bone, and I look at a lot of post-mortem photographs to work out how somebody is going to, are there going to be powder burns, how close they're going to be. So I do a lot of research on that. And my son is into airsoft, and he has several guns. And I frequently have to go and message him on Messenger and say, "Are you around here? Have you got a Glock? Can I feel a Glock, please? How does it feel in the hand? How's the weight of it? And what does it feel like when you fire it?" And he goes, "Oh, here we go again, Mum. Here, I'll put a bullet in, fire it." And he'll let me play with his guns for a while, which is great to give me a real feel for how these things work. It doesn't always make it into the final edit, but it doesn't matter. I kind of know in my head how this feels. And I've been quite an active sports person. I'm very overweight and unfit and arthritic these days, but I used to do a lot of crazy sports when I was younger, and I've had a lot of broken bones and injuries and things. So I feed off the pain that I can remember and try to put it into the characters and try and put it into. I get in their heads and remember how it feels to be in a lot of pain, and then try and put that into the character's head. And I think in book 2, in Small Bones, I'm not going to give too much away, but there's a character that dies, and he dies in his point of view. And I couldn't see to type for tears when I was typing that section. I just couldn't. I couldn't even see the screen at all. And it took me several attempts. I knew what I wanted to type, but it took me several attempts to get it down onto the keyboard, because I was that character and I was dying, and it was horrible. And I don't know if that comes through when people read these books. I don't know if it comes through or not, but it does to me when I'm writing them. And it traumatizes me sometimes.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Will Dean for a very similar reason, because he said that a character he wrote actually terrified him. The question I asked him, and I'm going to ask you at the same time, is when you get to that point, when you're that emotional, when you're writing a scene, do you know that you've written something really good? Are you is it like when an artist writes a number 1? That's why I asked him. When you always imagine that when a pop singer writes their number one song.
Yes.
So they have this inkling that this is going to be the one, this is going to be it. Are you writing that scene going, I've written something really good. People are really going to like this?
I don't know, because sometimes I've written a scene that I think is really good and then it's slaughtered by the editor. So I don't really know. But that one, yes, I think I felt that I'd been very honest when I wrote that one. I think I felt that I had, excuse this, but nailed it in the sense that I'd been so involved in the character when I wrote it that I felt as though I had put everything I could. I couldn't put any more into that if I'd tried. I think I felt I'd done the best I could with it, which is probably the most you'd ever get any writer to admit to, because they never feel, I don't think, that they've actually written anything that's really good. They just feel they couldn't have done it any better, which is probably as good a feeling as you ever get, really. I don't know what Will said, because I missed his. I saw part of it and I missed sections of it. What did he say in answer to that question?
He said that he always just hopes that he gets to the end and it's kind of readable.
Yeah, I suppose I can probably agree with that one too. Yes, because you don't know, you get so tied up with your own plots and your own characters.
That's something that I think I paraphrased a bit, but along those lines of like, he didn't think that at the time. He just kind of
you don't. You just need to get going.
All made sense.
Getting to the end is wonderful. I find endings really hard to write. I find it to round a book off and get an ending is I think the hardest part for me. To try and get an ending that works.
Do you when you're doing that? So when you're getting towards the end, do you know how you want it to end? Or
usually no. Usually I don't have a clue until I've written the ending and I think, oh, that's the end. It's actually come together. Somehow or other the strings have all come together. Then the end of Knife Edge was rewritten half a dozen times in completely different ways. I think I had about, 5 or 6 different endings for Knife Edge, and the ending that it currently has, I literally rewrote that the day I sent it into the publishers, submitted it, because this Druffy Books asks for the entire manuscript, which is unusual for most people. They just ask for like the first 10,000 words or something, but they ask for the entire manuscript at the beginning. And I think I just literally rewrote the ending of that because I wasn't happy with the original ending, and didn't even read it through, and then just sent it and thought, right, that's it, done, off, it's away now. If they don't like it, they don't like it. It doesn't matter. And that was the ending. I never very good at endings. I'm
now imagining when they make the film of Knife Edge that you could film all the alternate endings that you wrote.
If I can remember them. I've got them all on file somewhere because I throw nothing out on a scribble. I've got every version of every story is still on file somewhere in the cloud.
Have you pictured who'd play like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I've various ideas about who I would like to play various different roles, but I'm not going to voice them, I'm afraid, because A, people will think, gee, she's got delusions of grandeur, and B, I feel like I'm jinxing myself when I say who I would love to play the different roles. But yes, I have a very clear picture in my head of who I'd like to play. Sometimes I'm watching TV with Fraser, my husband, and an actor will come on and I go, oh, they would make a really good XYZ. So, but they're usually really famous actors, so I'm never going to get them.
Never say never. Who reads your books first?
Well, I have one particularly really good friend, Anne, who has been my beta reader for the whole way through, and she's been absolutely brilliant. Nobody read Knife Edge before it went to the publisher. Nobody had read it. I didn't have any crime beta readers at that stage because all I'd written was fantasy and science fiction, and none of my normal beta readers were interested in reading a crime novel. So that went in unread by anybody except for me. The first 1,000 words have been read by a couple of people. I'm trying to think who had written. A couple of people have read the first 1,000 words, and then nobody else had read the whole book. So that was no beta readers for that one. But yes, Anne is my first reader, and she's really quick. She usually gets it back to me within 24 hours, which is really handy. And she's very constructive. And then my husband, he's a lot slower. He's another really good beta reader because he's got a really good eye for detail, and he always has good constructive criticism of things. And then I've got my new beta readers this year, this last novel, Noreen, who's just fantastic, my policewoman. She's great.
Donna wants to know if you'd cameo.
Oh yeah, I'm up for anything, definitely. I'd have to write myself a role though, wouldn't I?
I don't know, authors have done that, haven't they? Stephanie Meyer's in like the film of Twilight,
Mm.
for instance. I'm trying to think of a better example than that, and I really can't.
I would love to do something. I never even thought about it. Donna, that's such a brilliant idea. I'm going to have to, in book 5, I'm going to have to put a character in there. Maybe it's not too late to add one to book 4. Some fat, old, grumpy person.
Don't sell yourself short.
No, I'm really not.
Apparently Peter James has cameoed.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm just reading the notes on there. Somebody says...
they'd like a book that gives you more than one ending.
Oh, yes.
You can choose which one you want to go with. See, I think you're onto something here.
Maybe I am, yes. You should have, like, you know, if you prefer a really happy ending, go to page such and such. If you want somebody to get the comeuppance, go to page such and such, you know.
It's a bit like a choose your own adventure, but you choose your own ending.
Yes, that sounds like a good plan. I usually got several to choose from.
Ian Rankin had cameos.
Oh, somebody has mentioned Ian Rankin in reference to something I'm talking about my books. I am in heaven now. Ian Rankin's one of my all-time favourite writers. Love Ian Rankin. And he's another pantster. He doesn't plan, he just writes and sees how it works out.
Sheila Butler is another one as well.
Yes, and there's a lot of us about, but some of them are really good.
They're often the people who write really complex stories as well, which amazes me. Like, you can kind of keep all those threads going in your head as you're writing.
But you don't always. Sometimes, well, I don't anyway. I lose track of most of my threads partway through, but I'm just, the people are just reacting, and then I have to go back and make sure that I've kept the continuity and that they have actually remembered to follow all the different pathways that I've given them to follow. Because some of mine can be quite complex. Well, I'm not sure if they're ever complex by the time they made all the edits, but they can be quite complex when I finished with them, at least. And I think because my character's always reacting to stimulus, they just react in such a normal way that sometimes they don't do things that you'd expect them to do, and that can make life much more complicated for me, because then I end up with all sorts of dead alleyways I have to sort out, and they make mistakes and things. But it's so much fun writing.
So we have 2 minutes left. I mean, we don't have 2 minutes really left with you because you're back with us on Sunday at 7. But we have 2 minutes left for tonight. So finish us off with a reminder of yourself, your books, show off any book covers if you've got them.
Book covers here.
Tell people how they can get hold of a signed copy if they want one. Knife
Edge, Small Bones and Deadly Shores. Those are the 3 that are out at the moment. They're available through Amazon, or if you live in Northern Ireland, you can get them from all the indie bookshops in Northern Ireland. But unfortunately, they're not available in the big chains because Joffrey doesn't do the big chains. But you can definitely get them on Amazon, either as a Kindle or a paperback book. And if you want me to sign, I'm quite happy to post them out if anybody wants to message me. And I just basically I charge whatever the going rate is on Amazon. Amazon, the prices seem to vary from time to time. So whatever the rate is that day on Amazon. So for example, the 3rd one is currently $7.99, and then just put plus whatever postage that it is, and I will write you a personal message or whatever. So if anybody would like a signed copy, I'm always happy to do that.
I know a lot of members in the group do like to buy a signed copy.
Yes, I always love signed books myself. If I can get an author signed book, I'm very happy. So. Oh, Donna, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And thank you. That's really lovely.
I really
I had a whale of a time. Kaz, it's always so much fun to chat to you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for a lovely experience.
I love chatting to you too. You are welcome back at any time.
We should meet up sometime.
We really should. Yeah. I'm hoping, someone has said here that they're hoping to see you at an event before too long.
Oh, I hope so. I'd love to start getting out to events again. I really should. I think I'm just a bit scared, but I really should get out there again.
But yeah, and we will see you on Sunday at 7 with Joy Ellen.
Thank you so much again. UK CBC is just such a brilliant group.